right, hello. Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back tonight, and we are starting up a brand new game just recently released called Arzium that a few of us that you can see on the stream right now are extremely excited about, as we've been big fans of the board game set in this universe, this setting, for quite some time. If you're unfamiliar with Arzium, it is a game by Red Raven Games, and it is based in a setting that they developed for a whole mess load of board games, from Above and Below, which I know is Kipster's holding up. It's one of her favorites. And then I'm going to hold up one of my favorites, City of Iron. This is the second edition. And there's plenty of others too. There's Islebound, there's Rome, there's Near and Far. There's just like so many. And basically, it's a relatively whimsical fantasy setting with some steampunk elements and such. Lots of different folk or species to play, and we kind of travel around. You got some airships, you got some robots, you got some cyclops walking around in the desert, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a lot of fun. There's just a lot of good fun to it. In the board games, there's all sorts of different kinds as well. So Melissa and I were fortunate enough to actually get to play this at Gen Con this past year. So we got to, I had already backed it when they were doing their Creature Caravans Game Found, I think it was. But we actually got to play it, so which was really nice. And it was honestly the highlight of Gen Con for us. It was like the best game we had. And we played a few, and that was by far the best. I keep saying this, but Kipster, you can't get mad at it anymore because you're actually playing tonight, so you can't get mad. You can't get mad.
Kipster, your face is just embodying that like little kid sad face gif. It's just perfect.
You're doing it right now. You're here. We're ready. So it's really exciting. The other cool thing is that we are actually going to be doing a giveaway. If you want your own copy of Arzium, this is a book right here. It's about 200 plus pages or so. It's a really nice book. Reads real quick. And the art is amazing. And we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're not going to do the giveaway tonight. We're going to do the giveaway next week, but we're announcing it tonight. And you can kind of head over to our Discord. You can drop your entry in. And if you're catching this later on YouTube or on our podcast feed, I'll have links to the Discord in the various descriptions. So you can hop on over, pop in the giveaway. And then next week we'll draw when we play our second episode. But yeah, lots of great stuff. So we're going to do character creation on stream. It's not going to take very long. Character creation is pretty simple. So I figure probably the first half an hour or so, we can probably go through character creation. We'll take our time. I know some of you have some ideas in mind. I know some of you are going to do it rando. Either way is fine, or a little mix of both is cool too. So the setting, generally speaking, some important things. A very long time ago, there's a species or a civilization called the Arzians, which they basically had like the greatest empire in the land, essentially, and they controlled most of the world of Arzium. And they developed all sorts of like this amazing technology that allowed them to fly, and they build these towering cities, change their bodies, and even manipulate time in some cases. And then some sort of mysterious calamity destroyed that Arzian empire, and it fell. And it kind of created this dark age for a bit. And for, I think, hundreds of years, I'm not exactly sure if the timeline's too specific. And the exact nature of that calamity isn't particularly well known. And today, there are still remains of Arzian tech all over the place. Some of them are in cities, some of them are buried. And there's even their ancient robots, which I believe is a playable folk, that still wander around, but they don't really have any memory of their time with the Arzians. So like there's still like this sort of black spot. And even some Arzians still exist here and there, so it's said. And it's a very big world, and there's all sorts of different places. We are going to be spending most of our time on a place called the Southwest Peninsulas, which is basically the setting for my favorite game because I'm selfish. And it's a little bit more steampunkian. And so you're going to see us going to like the capital city of which is where the Toadfolk live, or we're going to go over to Chasm, where I think it's mostly like lizard folk, toad folk, frog folk, all kinds of stuff. And then and we might be getting on an airship, some flying islands, all this kind of stuff that honestly, you put a flying island in an airship in a game and I'm in. Like that's pretty much how it works. So that's what we're going to be doing. So tonight we're going to dive in, we're going to do some character creation, and we're going to see how it goes. So, y'all ready?
Very much.
Okay. So the first step for character creation is to pick folk. Folk is just their term for like an ancestry or species like you would get in other games. And there are several options, more than 10, but less than 20, I think is what was figured out pre-stream. There are the usual human.
Maybe.
Even when I get up, I can still hear. I have the Bluetooth headphones in. There's humans, which are they make up most of the world. There are the Cresarian, which are humans but with white hair, and they live sort of in the area that we're going to be exploring. There's the Toadfolk, which the Toadfolk are very industrious and they're inventors. They know a lot about machines, and they're all about ingenuity. They don't really care as much about about the Arzium tech. They care more about their own creations. There's the Hogfolk, which they are also kind of in the area as well, though they're a little bit across the water from where we're going to start. And they have their own like capital. They're a little militaristic. I equate them almost to like the Klingons of the universe, maybe, if you want to think about it in those terms. There are robots, as we mentioned before, and they're basically like metal automatons, like if you want to think about it in those terms. Not to be confused with Toadfolk, there are Frogfolk, which are also in the area, but a little bit further east from where we're playing, and where the Toadfolk were all about like engineering and industry. Frogfolk are more about like kind of philosophy and balance and things like that, balance with nature, etc. There are Fishfolk, which is pretty amazing. They're blue and green. They have blue and green skin. They got like yellow-green fins. They have hair, and they have ears, and they can breathe in the water. Then there's Birdfolk. So you actually get to look at a beautiful, beautiful bird. And you can actually change your appearance as much as you want. And they even can fly short distances, but you actually can fly. Then there are the Glogo, which I know is Kipser's favorite. And if you've played a lot of their games, especially if you've played Above and Below, you would know Glogo. These cave-dwelling, stone skin. They have eyes that glow. They're about 4 or 5 feet tall, and some of them have like spines. They're pretty cool. And then there's Grasskin, which are very small. They're about 6 to 12 inches tall. So think of them like sort of like a pixie or a fairy, maybe, or the closest to that. There are the Cracks, Krax, which are basically crocodiles, and they have rough skin. They're fairly big, strong, etc. There's the Lurfrin, which are I don't think it actually denotes where they're from, but they're like a mysterious folk that no one quite knows exactly where they're from. But they are fairly big. They've got blue fur. They've got horns, and actually, I don't think they're that big. They're only a couple feet tall, but they got like ram's horns, and they're blue furs and stuff like that. There are Zelgar, which is another human type species, except these they have like skin color that's like scarlet or blue or purple, and they tend to live on flying islands. There are the Zirkin, which are fox-like, and they usually have like red and orange fur. And then there's the Lizard folk, which are very diverse, but they're like lizards, spines, horns, scales, etc., and all sorts of different colors. And they can be anywhere from very small to very large. So there's a lot of variety there. So those are the options. So while we're going to go through and see what everyone's going to end up playing, but in terms of the giveaway, how this is going to work is if you're familiar with Red Raven games and the various board games and Arzium and all that kind of stuff, hop into our Discord, go into the giveaway channel, just tell us what your favorite game is. Okay, what game do you really love that you enjoyed? If you're not familiar with the board games, just tell us which one of these folks sound really cool to you that you would like to play. Just drop a little note. And if you just put a comment in that giveaway channel, you're entered to win. And next week, we're going to draw the winner. Okay. We all set? We ready to start picking, choosing, rolling?
Should you mention domestic only?
Oh, yeah. We should mention domestic only. Yeah.
I cried.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. Domestic shipping to the U.S. only. Okay. So we ready to start?
We are.
Okay.
Do it.
All right. Kipser, you're on my overlay to go first. Do you want to go first? You want to roll?
I will roll for the first time in proper Norse Foundry dice, and I rolled a 20. I am a lizard folk.
Very nice. Are you satisfied with that? You don't have to stick with it, the roll. You can pick whichever you like.
It's not human. It's fine.
Okay. What do you have against human? You are one. So
exactly. I do that day to day.
Okay. So one of the things that when you pick or randomly choose your your folk is that some of them have a very specific ability that you have to choose. We'll talk about abilities later on, but when you, at a certain step in the process is that you actually have to start choosing abilities and spend your starting XP on. You would need to, as a lizard folk, take the fire resistance 1 ability, but we'll cover that later. Okay, Jeremy, you're next.
I'll roll it. I was going to do lizard person, but I don't want to step on it.
We can have 2. There's no reason we can't have 2.
I'll roll it. I'll see what I get. Lizard was I was initially, but there's a decent chance I'll do the token human.
Okay.
That's 13.
13 is Glogo.
My favorite. We're swapping. There you go. We swapped.
I'll think.
So what do you think? Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to Jeremy. Melissa, you're going to roll or pick?
So I rolled twice because, that's the thing that I would do.
Okay.
So I got a Cracks, which is the crocodile, and birdfolk. So nice. I think of those 2, I'm leaning Cracks.
Okay. Knowing your proclivity for having gravity-related issues in games, that probably makes sense not to pick the thing that lets you fly short distances.
Probably.
Okay. Because it's exactly what will happen. Okay, so far, so you're sticking with Cracks? You're happy with Cracks?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, so you will eventually have to pick the Deadly Bite ability. So again, we'll cover abilities later on. All right, Aaron, you going to roll or do you have something in mind?
I'm rolling.
All right.
6.
6 is a Toadfolk. You are a man of class. I appreciate that.
Toadfolk it is.
Yep. And you get the tongue snap ability.
That sounds right up my alley.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Okay. So you are okay. So that's 5 to 6, and then Long. What you got?
Yeah, I rolled Fishfolk. So I'm a blue-skinned fish person, 4 foot tall.
Very nice.
Have
very
gills,
nice.
and I can breathe underwater.
Yep, absolutely, you can. Fantastic. Okay, this is great. So Kipser's doing lizard folk. Melissa, you're doing Cracks. We got Aaron as a toad folk, Long as fish folk, and then Jeremy. What do you think, man?
Token human.
Okay. The one thing about humans is that there aren't they don't have a specific ability that they need to take. So they actually get a little bit more flexibility when it comes to picking those later on, whereas everybody else is sort of has one already kind of forced on them.
So are you going to be a straight up human, or a Chrysarian human, or a Zelgar human?
Well, I wouldn't say I'll be normal by any means, but a traditional human.
Okay. Fair enough.
It means you get more XP to spend when you're coming up with your abilities because you're not having to buy one because of your folk.
There we go.
TK is asking about the giveaway. We're going to do the giveaway in the Discord. You can start entering now, anytime between now and next week's session. Just go into the giveaway channel on our Discord, and then just drop either your favorite folk or your favorite Red Raven game. Anything like that. All right. We can come back to names. And there's a big D100. You're not required to pick from that, but if you want to, if you don't really want to think of one, there's a big D100 list. But let's go to the next step, which is occupation. There are 20 different occupations. I'm not going to read every single description, but just to kind of give you the names of them, so you can get the flavor. You can be a scholar, treasure hunter, soldier, hunter, politician, trader, alchemist, herbalist, machinist, cook, builder/miner, mystic, thief, spy, curstick, which is sort of like a warlock in a way, crystal singer, animal speaker, sailor/pirate, performer, or investigator. I played a trader during Gen Con and enjoyed it quite a bit. Melissa, what did you play?
I don't remember what I played, but I had a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm head deep in what this is. My character sheet is in the other room, though.
Okay. So let's go the inverse order. Let's start with Long. Long, do you have an idea of what you want to do, or do you want to roll random?
I just gave it a quick roll, and I rolled a hunter.
Okay, man. Page 26. Let's take a look at this really fast, because when you pick a occupation, it's going to give you a bunch of things. Okay, so 26. So it's going to give you an attribute point bonus. We'll talk about attributes in a second when we do the array. But you're going to eventually get a +2 to your perception. you have a starting health of 9, and you have a starting XP of 7, meaning you're going to have 7 XP to eventually spend on abilities when we get to that step. You can see that Hunter also gives you some starting equipment. So in this game, there's sort of 2 resources that come into play. Coins, which is pretty much how you would expect coins to be worked in any game. And then there's also supplies. Supplies is more like an all-purpose resource that's sometimes used for abilities, sometimes used for like building, crafting things, and sometimes you just use it if you're like traveling through like harsh terrain or things like that. So you're starting. So if any of you have starting supplies, which you probably will, that's what that means. So you're gonna get a handful of things. Go ahead and add those to your sheet for your starting equipment. And then it also is going to give you starting abilities. And you just get these. So camouflage, first aid, fishing, hunting, rapid fire, snares, throw weapon, and track. You get those. And then you're still going to have 7 XP to buy some more, but you're still going to have to buy the Fishfolk one. But we'll get to that shortly. Got it? Any questions along?
Sounds good.
All right, man. Aaron, do you have something in mind or you want to roll?
I'm going to roll.
All right.
I got a 3.
3 is a soldier. You are a Toadfolk soldier.
All right.
Okay. That is on page 25. So the soldier is going to eventually give you +2 to your strength. It gives you 11 health to start with and 7 XP to play with and a whole mess load of abilities and equipment. So I'll let you start digging through those. I would say for now, everyone just hang on to your starting XP until we get to the abilities phase, and then we'll kind of dig into that. Okay, Melissa, what you got?
Okay, so I had picked 2 ahead of time that I was going to choose between either Machinist or Crystal Singer, because I thought those are both kind of cool for the setting. So I rolled the D100, high or low. I ended up with low, which is Machinist.
Okay, Machinist. Okay, so Machinist is on page 31.
Yeah, so I get a +3 to craft, got 7 health, 8 starting XP, and I get machinery, and I've got some fun stuff with like firework, rocket, and net gun, and drill, and
yeah, it's pretty awesome. Because you, unlike some of the other ones, you get one ability. It's called machinery, but the machinery itself has all sorts of stuff within it, like kind of nested underneath it, that you can kind of essentially shift through as you make use of these different pieces of equipment. It's really fun. Okay. Jeremy, I know you were thinking cook beforehand. Do you want to stick with that, or do you want to roll rando?
I'm still doing cook. 100%.
Okay.
I knew that for sure was what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Cook. I think we had a cook in our group, and you get to basically make food that gives us bonuses.
Gives the whole party a buff. It's so fun.
It's great. So cook is on page, looks like 32. Yep. You're going to eventually get bonuses to cunning and craft. Those are 2 of the attributes. You have 9 health to start with, and you have 8 XP to play around with in a few minutes. And then you have all that starting equipment, all those starting abilities. Just add them to your sheet.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. Okay. Cool. And then last but not least, Kipser. What you thinking?
So I rolled a 19, which is performer. And then in the performer section, I got musician, dramaticist, or dexterity performer. I'm going to go with performing musician. Do classical.
You're a classical musician, is that what you said?
Well, it's the classical bard thing, right? As a musician versus a storyteller.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're going reflexes and knowledge as your bonuses then, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, performer is one of those is one of the occupations that actually has like let you do a sub choice in terms of where you're putting your bonuses, which is pretty fun. I should also note, we're not doing it ourselves, but there are rules in the game for like crafting like your own. So if you don't like any of the many options, like there is the ability to make your custom one, but we're going to skip over that. Maybe next time. All right. So then, so that is, we should have folk, we should have occupation. Let's talk about attributes. So in Arzium, there are 5 attributes. 6 attributes, and you're essentially going to be. This is where your rolling comes into play when you're trying to like pass tests or challenges, is what this game calls it. Strength, reflexes, knowledge, cunning, perception, and craft. Okay. Now, the way that attributes work in this game is that you will have a number. We're going to assign those in a second. That score isn't your bonus. Your bonus, instead, what it is, it's a pool. It's a pool of points that you can spend when you go to test that attribute for your bonus. So if you have like a 5 in strength, for instance, that means after a rest, you started out, you have 5 points in your strength pool. And if you go to make a challenge, try to complete a challenge that requires strength, you get to decide: do you want to spend any of those points to get a bonus on your roll? You can roll it flat, or you can try to spend that. Now, the points do come back when you rest, but resting usually takes about half a day. But it is one of those things where you get to decide. Now, there is a standard array, so you have to assign to each of your attributes. One of them is going to be 0. One of them is going to be 1. One of them is going to be 2. One of them is going to be 3. One of them is going to be 4. And one of them is going to be 5. And then don't forget that your occupation will have given you a bonus as well.
What's the maximum?
I think you can get up to 10, but you can only ever get +5 on a roll. So that's the maximum bonus you can ever have. So it might be 10. At least I think that's what it was in the character sheet.
I don't think it's possible to hit it at like character creation.
Yeah, no way.
Don't think so. There are some abilities that do boost your attributes and things like that. So like some of the abilities that you can purchase will give you a +1 or +2 or something. Go ahead, Lon.
Yeah, this we assign ourselves. We're not like randomly.
Yeah, you can do it however you want. You know, whatever you want. Your abilities obviously will kind of give you an idea, like the ones from your occupation will kind of give you an idea of like what you might be using more frequently. So like Jeremy, for instance, is a cook. He's probably going to use craft a decent amount. So like he's, so it's like, cause he's going to be making food and doing things like that. So it's kind of up to you. And they all kind of they're all kind of related to what you think they would be related to. Strength is fairly obvious, reflexes, knowledge, etc. All of that is exactly what you probably think it is. So, and again, the points themselves, they do come back, but once you spend them, they're gone until you effectively rest and reset. So there's kind of a push your luck mechanic involved here. Like how much do you want to spend on a roll? How much do you want to save? And then even when you do damage, so when we get into combat, you'll have weapons, and your weapons will have a specific attribute assigned to it. It'll give you like a dice number, like a D6, and then it'll say a D6 perception. And what that means is that when you roll your damage, you can even spend your pool points from perception in that case to boost your damage. So whether you're rolling for a check, like for a challenge, or you're rolling for damage, it's the same mechanic. Different die, but same mechanic. All right. So I'm just going to keep filling while everyone does their math. So while they're figuring that out, I'm going to talk about a couple other things. So I already mentioned that there's supplies and coins. There's also health and armor. And so health is determined by their occupation. So their occupation gives them a starting health. Then there's also armor. Armor in this game works just like health. It's sort of like temporary HP, and it's an encounter resource. So whenever they get into combat and they take damage, it's just flat reduction, and it's going to come off armor first. And then once armor is depleted, it'll start coming off health. But then after the combat's over, armor comes back. Health doesn't unless you do some healing, take a potion, etc. But that's that. There's also this thing called memory knots in this game, which is a really fun little thing. Every level, you can kind of fill up 3 memory knots. What it basically means is it's a way of, if you fail a roll, you can fill in a memory knot, and you can change the roll result from whatever you rolled to the max on the die. So in the base game, and if you're doing a challenge, it's a D10, so you can just set it to a 10. Or if you're trying to roll for damage, you can do whatever the max damage number would be. And what you then do is you kind of give us a little flashback or a little detail about your life that helped you in this situation, right? And that's why. So it's a little flashback mechanic. It lets you pass, but you get 3 of those per level. They don't carry over. They reset every level. And so they're really fun to use. All right. We good? Anyone ready to start going through your stats, your attributes?
All right.
Got mine.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Jeremy, tell me about your distribution.
All right.
What you got?
So our cook is a fairly sturdy guy with 5 strength, but moreover, he's crafty with 6 craft, 3 reflexes, 3 cunning, 1 perception, 0 knowledge.
Very nice. Very nice. So don't necessarily have a lot of book knowledge, but you have a little bit of cunning, so there's pretty good, right? Pretty good.
I try really hard not to be Guy Fieri, but
okay.
He's not your classy cook by any means.
Yeah. So make sure when you're putting the stuff into your character sheet where it says max on the character sheet, put the number because it's always going to reset to that after you rest.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Aaron, what you got?
7 strength, 4 reflexes, 0 knowledge, 1 cunning, 2 perception, and 3 craft.
I fully endorse the swole Toadfolk, the super strong Toadfolk.
It had to be, right?
It has to be. Absolutely. That's the way to do it.
Have to go that
route. Okay.
Nice.
Who else is done?
I think I'm good.
All right. What do you got, Melissa?
I may decide that I've made some poor choices later on, but I've got 7 in craft, 1 in perception, 0 in cunning, 2 in knowledge, 5 in reflexes, 3 in strength.
Fantastic.
I might flip-flop the strength reflexes piece. I'm still kind of looking at it, but I like because I get like a +3 to craft. So like not necessarily putting that as my highest, but kind of a little bit lower with the plus. And then I still have something else with the 5 and kind of spreading that around a little bit.
There are a lot of different things craft comes into play for, not just like your basic abilities, but there's also a thing in this game called like makeshift equipment, where if you just want to make something, you can roll a craft test. So whether it's like a piece of armor or a weapon or some tools, like you spend some supply and you make a craft challenge, you make a test with craft, and then you create it. It is not as going to be as high quality as like if you were to purchase something or if it's really good, but like you can still potentially do it. So if you guys are crawling through a cavern and you run out of torches, you could potentially roll a craft test to make a torch from it and spend the supply and go from there. And it's also used to repair things. When stuff gets damaged in this game, it doesn't like break in the sense that you can never use it. It just means you have a penalty whenever you use it now. That's all. And craft is a way of getting rid of that potential damage penalty. All right. Who is next? Long, you ready to go?
Yeah, I've got 1 strength, 5 reflexes, 2 knowledge, 0 cunning, 6 perception, and 3 craft.
All right. You're a hunter. Makes sense. Perception's fairly high. Reflex is fairly high. Perfect. Okay. Good deal. And Kipser, you ready to go?
I have 0 strength. I put 1 reflex, which is up to 3 because of my class. 3 knowledge, 5 cunning, 4 perception, and 2 craft.
Okay. I think you're the smart one. So I think you are the smart person in the party when it comes to knowledge. So I think everyone else is either like 2 or under. So that's good. Cunning's very high too. Yeah. You're the bard.
Yeah, my knowledge is a +1, so it totals at 4.
Okay. All right. So that's attributes. And so then we've got abilities. So you should already have some starting ones, obviously, from your occupation, but you also have XP to spend. And so your occupation determined what your starting XP was. However, this, for most of you, with the exception of Jeremy, your folk will have already predetermined one of the things you have to spend your XP on. So these are on page 46 to 50. There are some abilities that you can only get at character creation, and then there's others that you can kind of take later. And there's some that you can take multiple times. So it kind of gives you like a plus to your health, like toughness, I think it's called, for instance, can continue to sort of buff you up a little bit. So first thing you have to make sure you're doing is you're taking the ability that your folk determined, and then deduct that XP. And then whatever you have left, you can spend on any of the other abilities that you can afford. You can also save your XP, and after level 1, you're going to get more XP once you level up, and if you can sort of save it for the next time up too, if you prefer. So,
just checking what you said there. You said the folk ability is subtracted from our starting XP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mandatory buy.
Yeah, you have to choose it. Yeah. So for you, it's water breathing, I believe, for Fishfolk.
6 XP for me.
Nope, that's most of your XP. So.
You.
Only, yeah.
Then all the occupation ones, we just automatically get?
Mm-hmm. All the occupation ones you automatically get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else can have them but that occupation.
And then Jeremy, because he's a human, doesn't have a limitation. He can essentially buy any of this kind of stuff. And again, they start around 40. Yeah, page 46. You can see those are only character creation, and then there's some that are on page 48. And so like the ones on for like character creation, those I think are mostly where you're going to find your folk specific ability. So like, so if you're doing like tongue snap, for instance, you can find it on page 47, water breathing as well, that kind of stuff. And so long for water breathing, you can breathe on the water indefinitely.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Where everyone else is drowning, you get to live. You get to watch it. Watch them all.
How do we feel about flying lizards?
How do I feel about flying lizards? I'm okay with flying lizards.
Obviously.
It's a short distance, so it's not like you're flying forever. But you have to have a believable reason for having this ability within the context of the setting. So it says, I'm just reading from the book, bird folk have feathers and wings, so this makes sense. If you are a human, for example, you might have a magic ring that lets you fly, or perhaps a ghost who follows you around and can carry you through the air when you ask her. So,
it's so cute.
What would your believable reason be then?
Well, it's legitimately just like the skin wings that you can sometimes get flying lizards are real, aren't they? I'm not just making them.
Gliding.
Yeah, thank you.
Gliding.
Literally just
gliding.
genetics.
Yeah.
Genetics.
Okay. So it's just like you specifically have like webs underneath like your arms or something like that.
Got it from my mom's side.
Some membrane. Okay. Your mom's side. Heavy flyers, your mom's side. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with it. Sounds fun. Okay. So Jeremy, let's check in with you because everybody else had a specific one that probably took up a good chunk of their XP.
Yes.
Do you have something in mind that you wanted to take?
Oh yeah, I've already figured out completely.
Okay.
This chef is a master of the blade in more ways than one. He's going to be weapon master, rank 2. He's only using tiny little carving knives, but man, he will mess you up with them because the cook gets to attack with 2 knives.
Okay. That's really funny.
Yeah, right? So he's a slicer and dicer, but on the flip side, he's also a doctor. Because cook comes with first aid, and if you have first aid, you meet the prerequisite for doctor. So I'm Dr. Cook.
So did you take dual weapons?
No, the cook gets slice and dice. It's even better than dual weapons.
Yeah. And then you said you took weapon expertise.
Master, weapon expertise.
Expertise.
I said the wrong thing.
Yeah. Okay.
One is a fighter thing. One's the yeah. So you just get these 2 little carving knives, but
that's fantastic. I love it. Do you have any XP left over?
Nope, that's it.
All tapped out. Okay.
I'm a doctor, and I'm good with my knives.
Okay. Yes. Anybody else? But I know we heard from Kipser you bought a flying, and you had enough to pay for it and everything.
Yeah, so fire resistant is my required ability. It's 2 XP. As a performer, I get 10. So I still have 2 left.
Okay. That's awesome.
And I'm shopping.
And again, you can save them if you wanted to, if you save up for something better. So I should let you all know how leveling up works. So we'll play for a little bit. I don't know how long we're going to play. I haven't put up specific number of episodes in mind, but at least a handful. But you level up in this game by completing quests. And you have to complete the same amount of quests as your current level to get to the next level. So at level 1, you just have to complete 1 quest to get to level 2. To get to level 3, you got to do 2. To get to level 4, you got to do 3, and so on. Max level is 10. So that's kind of an ideal. So by the end of the night, you'll probably level up to level 2, if you think about it, because we'll probably finish or get very near to finishing a quest tonight, if that makes sense. Okay.
Got it.
All right, Melissa, did you buy anything extra?
I did. So As a Krax, my folk ability is Deadly Bite. So I've got a dangerous bite with sharp teeth. And I spend a strength, which is one of the reasons why I might switch and make strength a 5. So I've got strength to spend for bite attacks as a minor action. So I can do some stuff. Machinery is the unique ability that I get as a machinist. And then I also bought Lucky because I have to game the system. So in this game, rolling a 6 on a D10 is unlucky. And so there are things that happen when you roll a 6. So I specifically spent XP to take Lucky, which means that rolling a 6 doesn't do anything bad to me because I need that support for my dice luck.
Okay.
And then I think, Jeff, you took this when we played this at Gen Con, the Scrounger ability.
Yes, I did have that.
To help with supplies. So whenever I rest, I gain +1 supply, which definitely seems like we've got a couple folks that do crafting. So getting the extra supplies would definitely be useful and keep that engine going for supply creation.
I was getting a ton of supply every time we rested. I had a ton of supply, which meant I could reach into my trader bag of tricks and pull out all sorts of wonderful items. And I was just chucking hexite grenades left and right. I couldn't roll for damage to save my life because I rolled like a 1 every time, but I was blowing things up for 1 damage. It was great. It was so much fun. Okay. Aaron, did you pick some? Do you have any XP left over to pick something?
I did. So I got Tongue Snap, which is my racial ability or my kin ability. I have a grasping tongue that can reach up to 6 feet, a la X-Men Toad. You can use it to grab items that weigh less than 20 pounds. During combat, I can spend 1 reflex to hit an enemy with a melee tongue attack as a minor action, which deals 1d4 power damage.
That's fantastic. So what that means, by the way, before you tell us about the next ability. So in this game, when you fight enemies, some of their stats are known to you. You know how much health they have and you know how much power they have. They're basically 2 different resources. Health is what you think it is. Power is essentially their relative strength, and they can and that's like a bonus to damage against you. And so if you can deplete their power, like you're not going to kill them, but you make them less and less dangerous to you. So it's very useful to have someone in the party that has the ability to deal power damage. Very cool.
So that's fun and fantastic. So as a fighter, I have the charge ability, which basically allows me to charge in, spend some strength, shove somebody, and they take some damage. Combat discipline, which means once per each combat, I can re-roll a damage dice for free. Combat tactics, when attacking basically alongside an ally, I get +1 damage. So if me and the cook decide to go shish kebab on somebody, critical strike with a sword, I chose sword. With a critical strike, if I do my max damage on the dice roll, I get to roll another die and add to it. I also have first aid. And patch up, which is I can spend 1 craft and 1 supply to restore 2 health to myself, but nobody else. I get weapon mastery for 2 weapons. I pick the sword for +1 more damage and my tongue for +1.
Nice.
I like it.
And then with I had 4 XP remaining, and I did pick the first level of weapon expertise sword, which gives me another +1. So I would have +3 to damage if I'm fighting alongside an ally with a sword.
Fantastic. Sweet. So in this game, we don't use grids, we don't use like range bands, we use groups. So it's very abstract. Essentially, when you want to go attack somebody or you want to go hang out with an ally, you just move towards them and you're in a group. And so you could have several people within a group, and that's what that means. Melee, you can only melee something that's in the same group as you. And so all you would make sure is that you and Jeremy are essentially in the same group with whatever it is you're meleeing, and you'd be good. Now, it doesn't have to be Jeremy. It could be anybody, really. Okay.
It has to be. I'll demand it.
Okay. And then Long.
Man, what did you Toad?
Did you get anything? Were you able to afford anything?
No, I was left with 1 XP, which can't really afford much
for
fishing, but I automatically get that already.
Yeah, because you're a fish. So if anyone knows about fishing, it would be a fish. Do you feel guilty Whenever you fished, you're like, oh, I really shouldn't be doing this.
Not at all.
Just reeling it.
It's the latter.
Who eats more fish than fish?
Like,
That's true.
you just
That's
have
a
a
good
conversation with them, and
That's
you're
a
like,
very
"Hey,
good point.
hey, you want to come over here? You want to follow me? Follow me around this alley."
How you doing?
I feel like that's how you get.
How you doing? Hey, how you doing? All right. So, last thing we've got to do is character adjectives. There is a D100 table on page 51 if you would like to roll randomly, or you can pick two. This is really just kind of giving us a flavor for your character and kind of go from there. Do we want to roll randomly, or do you want to just pick some? What do you think?
I
Roll
rolled until
for
I
the
found
fun
things
of
I
it.
liked.
Oh my god.
Okay.
The first one that I got, I liked.
Someone post up that Melissa cheats at board games message.
It might be on
board
there
games.
now.
And it's
It's
never
already
been
been up
more
there.
appropriate because she's cheated in Red Raven Games board games before.
Oh, tut. For shame.
So the first one that I rolled was materialistic, which I liked. And then I rolled a few that I didn't really like as much. And then the second one that I did like was encouraging. So I am materialistic and encouraging.
Okay. Sounds good. You're like what's it called? You're like an influencer. You get all the stuff and then you encourage people to buy. And you get kickbacks from the various companies. Right? Is that how it works?
Go with what I rolled.
Yeah. That I'm encouraging people to buy all of the things that I've made. Like I could also be like kind of a snake oil salesman kind of thing.
You could.
Like,
incidentally, a lot of influencers are like snake oil salesmen. Kipser, are you going to roll?
I did. So I rolled a 2 and an 83. So I am agreeable and serious.
Wow. That is like the opposite of you.
I'm going to have to work real hard on this character.
You're really going to reach in the role play.
The second thing that I rolled was lazy, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy, do you got your 2?
It's going to take me in a direction that I was not intending to go with the cook, but I really love that I rolled bitter and troubled. So the token human is bitter and troubled.
I like it. It's bitter too because you're a cook.
Assassin past.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you going to stick with it?
I think I will.
All right. That a boy. No more cheating like Melissa. Aaron, what do you got?
I got friendly and clumsy.
That's amazing.
That's great. Big, like a swole, powerful soldier who is both friendly and clumsy. It's always good when like this major offensive weapon on your team is clumsy. Fantastic. I love it. Okay. Long, what'd you end up with?
Got eager and expensive.
Okay.
You are expensive.
Expensive taste.
I know.
Okay.
Like, immediately goes to the most like shiny, expensive thing on a table, regardless.
All right. Okay. I think we are good with character creation. Any questions or anything we're not sure of on your character sheet? Make sure that you put your max attribute in the max slot for your sheet, so you know what to reset to when the time comes. Go ahead, Kipser.
Remind me, with weapons like a dagger or a blade, would that exist in our hand or would that exist in the inventory slot?
Yeah, you want to put that in your hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure on that.
And you can, in the game, like you can see like the different weapons have, you can kind of flavor it however you want. So like there's different suggestions next to the type of, like a sword can be a couple different things, a spear can be a couple different things, but they all have a die size and then an associated attribute. So make sure you write that down because that's important. There is no to hit roll in this game. So if and when we get into combat, you don't roll to hit, you automatically hit. So you're only rolling for damage. And so the damage bonuses will come from whatever attribute is associated with the weapon that you pick. So make sure you have that there. In terms of armor, you just add it up. I know like some of them, like they have different slots. You can only have one in each slot. You can carry extra bits of armor, but it has to go in your inventory. Otherwise, just count up your armor and then put it into your armor slot.
Okay.
And again, armor really is just like temporary HP. Damage comes off that first, and then it'll reset at the end of a combat.
If we want to review that at all, so as a machinist, I have a wrench, which is a club type weapon. I have a work apron, which is 1 body armor, engineer gloves, which are 2 armor, and heavy, and goggles, which are 1 armor. So I'm rocking 4 armor.
Nice.
That's really good. Yeah, that's great. Not as great as this Toadfolk soldier I'm looking at, as he's got more.
That is true. But it is my job to, have more.
That is fair. Yeah.
Not necessarily my job to get in the way of the damage that Melissa is going to take, but it's definitely my job to be better protected for myself.
Excellent.
I trip over my own feet.
All right. Okay. Any last questions before we get started on character sheets? Anything that you're unsure of or how it works? It's possible you might not even have much armor. You might only have like 0 or 1. That is possible.
Yeah, just 1.
Okay. All right. So before we go in and start playing, basic roll when you're doing a challenge, it's just a D10. You roll a D10 and then you decide how many of the points of that specific attribute you want to dedicate. There's really only 2 difficulty or target numbers. 7 is a normal result. Like that's what you're aiming for on most challenges. If something's hard, it'll be a 10. And then there's also contested checks sometimes. And then it's less about what the number is. It's just about beating the other, whoever it is you're contesting with. Melissa already mentioned the unlucky 6. It's just an extra consequence. If you roll a natural 6, it is not like you're going to fail the test. It just means there's an extra consequence of some kind. There's a whole chart for this. So like, it's just a little extra complication. That's all it basically is. If you succeeded on the test, you still succeed and all that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of different conditions. If you're looking at the character sheet I made for Google Sheets, you can see if you hover over top of them, it'll tell you what the effect is. And so you can kind of see all of that. All right. And then one last thing with strength, I should say, some weapons or some items have heavy as a keyword. You can carry a number of heavy items equal to your max strength. So if you have 3 max strength, you can carry 3 heavy items. Okay. Make sense? So if you put a 0 in your strength, you ain't carrying any heavy items.
Whoops.
Okay. If that's the case, I think we are ready to get going. We're going to keep it simple tonight. We're going to try to kind of ease our way into this so we can kind of get our feet wet and kind of go from there and get going. So let us start. We're going to open up somewhere in Lyrand. If you're in Foundry, you can see the map for that. But we're in Lyrand, which is one of the southwestern regions within this land. We are in the wilds currently, is where we're going to start off. It's east of the Toad City of and away from the ample railways that crisscross Lyrand going from one major city to the next. All of you have been traveling from the farming town of Lurkeen, which is a little bit further east, and you have hitched a ride in a very large iron crawler that belongs to a human trader by the name of Eldrin. Your ultimate destination is itself, because there are plenty of competing academies within that are filled with all sorts of scholars, and those scholars are in need of field researchers and explorers, and there's ample opportunities for work. How or why you found yourselves in Lurkeen, we can explore as you see fit, and maybe through memory notes or maybe just through roleplay. And whether or not you are previously familiar with each other, that's again entirely up to you. However, right now, you're in a little bit of trouble because over the past hour, there has been a series of small pops and sputters coming out of this iron crawler, and all of that has kind of led to one very, very, very large pop and crash and a great deal of smoke, and then this broken down crawler that we zoom in now. We're still a ways out from Krollmark. We're not quite to the Emerald Hills, and we are in the middle of the wilds. There is no road or path or a railway. This crawler has just been trying to drive through the wilderness. We can see that Eldrin has buried himself recently beneath the crawler, and you've heard intermittent curses, ineffectual banging for about the past 20 minutes or so. And finally, He crawls out from underneath. You can see his face, including his very enormous mustache, are covered in grease, in grime, and a grim expression. And then he looks at you all, kind of wipes some of it across his forehead. He's like, well, this crawler isn't going anywhere. Not in this condition, anyway. The boiler gasket's blown, the pistons are jammed, and at least a dozen brass couplings could do with replacing. That's not even the worst of it. There's a rupture in the steam manifold, and that's not the type of thing you can scrap together and bypass. Unless all of you want to be cooked alive, that is, halfway to home. No, we're going to need a replacement, we are, or at least something close enough to make do for now. Hiking back to Lurkeen isn't going to help us. They don't have these types of parts, and Medgra is just too far away. So, the good news is, if memory serves, there's an old factory a bit south of here, buried away in a forest. I seem to recall passing by it once or twice. Anyhow, it's one of those places that off the beaten path. Some industrialist or two tried to build up a new production site, but it kind of gave over to the wilds a bit. But it's maybe about half a day or so on foot, so if you lot wouldn't mind going and scrounging, you might be able to find something there that'll do. I can draw you up exactly what you need, and then while you're gone, I can see to the pistons and the couplings. But it's not a very safe stretch, so you best not lollygag too much. You never really know when the thieves or some of the creatures in the wild descend on us here and get what's left of our hexite. Anyhow, would you mind? Would you mind at all? He kind of looks out, and we're going to focus in on Kipser. This game has an active player. Kipser, you're our active player for this scene. So describe what we see as we look over, and he's talking to the lot of you, but he's probably closest to you, and he's looking at you when he's kind of like, beseeching you to go help. So what do you look like, and what's your reaction here?
Milka is got sort of these little scrawny arms, and below that almost a kite-like effect folded in right now, kind of striped almost between sort of a dark black with a bit of light green and yellows on the side for, attracting a mate if needed. Yeah, we can definitely try to do that. Where did you want me to go again? I promise I was listening.
Well, no, it's fine. It's about I would guess about half a day south from here. It's in a forest, a deep forest. I don't think there's much around it, to be honest with you. I think if you go past this here, and he kind of points up to what looks like a fairly large mountain off to your kind of southeast. You go past this a ways. If you get over to the lake, I think you've gone too far east, but just keep heading southward. It shouldn't take you more than a half day or so, I think, as long as you don't dilly-dally. But somewhere in there you might find something. Now, unless, of course, the scavengers have already gotten to it first. It's certainly possible, but we're out in the middle of nowhere, so we might get lucky.
Oh, well, fingers crossed, I guess. And she does loom 6 feet tall over this fellow. You see her kind of reach down, grab a guitar case, sling it on her shoulder, and go, all right, anybody coming with me?
And so we look over, and we'll see Jeremy, go ahead and introduce. You're the closest. What do you look like, and how do you respond?
So Cecil Sizzleton is a relatively average-sized human. Kind of muscular, but not like super buff by any means. He has what looks to have once been an immaculate chef's coat with buttons down one side, but the sleeves seem to have been ripped off for some reason. Got some burn marks along his hands and arms. Kind of got a hooked nose, big eyes, kind of bags underneath. He doesn't look like he sleeps very well. You see he's in the middle of trying to get a cigarette out, but it's broken, and he's kind of pissed off at it. He just, "There, you want me to do? Why you want me to come with you and do this stupid thing? If I don't come and do this stupid thing with you, I'm stuck in these damn woods. Fine, yes. I'll come do this damn thing."
Yes, very good.
See, why can't I have my cigarette? I want to smoke. I want to get to where I want to go. I'm stuck with you doing this.
You might want to be careful
so you better
with the cigarette. around the machine here. There's a lot of incendiary vapors
I didn't even have time to light it.
Oh dear! Oh goodness!
Cigarette, waste my matches.
Okay.
Waste my time. Waste my matches. Waste my cigarette.
And so as Eldrin is like, oh no, don't light it, right next to Eldrin, Melissa, who do we see? What do you look like? And how do you contribute in this case?
So we see Sarla, who is a Krax, which is a crocodile. So basically like an upright crocodile. And basically in terms of clothing, like really what Krax is wearing is this like work apron that's sort of kind of the kind of clothing that the crocodile kind of is wearing. And she got the wrench in her hand and she was definitely helping, like trying to figure all of this out. Being very like, we can do this, we can figure this out. And trying to kind of get all of this to work. And so she has definitely kind of with her own eyes confirmed that, this is just not going to work. And we definitely need to, kind of get out there. And she's fairly kind of hefty. I did switch and put strength as 5. So she's just kind of, gets out from kind of underneath everything. And she's just like wiping all of this kind of grease and everything, kind of off of her hands. All right, let's get to it.
And so Eldrin will come over to you and he'll have like a little scroll that he'll show you. And he'll be like, okay, now this is what you want. I'm pretty sure you know what you're looking for. But just in case. Yes. And if you see if there's any couplings or pistons, just in case, I'm running quite low. Anything you think might do, honestly, just bring back whatever scrap you can find. I'm sure between the two of us, if we put our brains together, we can make it work. Yeah?
We're going to put this together. Absolutely. We're going to. And so she's kind of taken everything out of, kind of her pack that's sort of unnecessary and just making sure that she's got plenty of room for anything that we're going to pick up as we traverse to get these parts.
Okay. And so then Eldrin will turn to our told soldier. It might be good if you go along with him. It's not very safe lands, sir. You being a local, I assume it might make it a little bit easier for him. Would you mind lending your sword to the rest of these folk? As he like kind of gingerly comes up towards you, Aaron. What do we see, and how do you react?
So Mac is about 5 feet tall, deep scarlet pebbled skin, and he's jacked. I mean, he's got a 7 strength. He is jacked. He's wearing a reinforced leather breastplate, and going down his shoulders, down his arms are black tattoos of skulls of different sizes. He looks over. What? Absolutely. You know what? I think that sounds like the best damn idea I've heard all day. You and I are thinking much alike, and I think that's exactly where we need to be. Now, where do I need to be where you need me to be?
Oh, okay. Well, you see, those other fellas and the lady over there, you get to, be with them, maybe, make sure, maybe out in front of them, even, just in case something comes running out of them, and you can just hop out in front and maybe do a little your magic, not your magic, but, you swing the sword and such and get all fierce and it runs away or something like that.
Oh! He slams his arm across his shoulder and his tongue flicks out and licks the side of his face.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Well, this was nasty.
We are going to have such fun, you and me, and them, whoever them is. Who are them? Who are you? I'm coming with you. Hold on.
We're waiting.
Oh.
And so...
I'm Milka.
And Sarla just kind of snaps her kind of crocodile jaw at you a little bit, and like not necessarily in a mean way, but just sort of like letting you know what she's capable of and her potential contribution to this party in addition to up here.
Well, I've got to say, those are some mighty fine chompers. I don't have chompers quite like that, but those are mighty fine chompers. How much is your dentist bill? Oh, Lord, don't tell me. You can tell me later.
They get the job done. And see, the thing, and you probably know this with your sword, if you take care of your own equipment, it saves you in supply and coin. So, take care of it myself.
I never put that much thought together in my head at any one time, but I'll take what you're saying for the truth.
At some point, maybe I'll take a look at your sword and see if it could use any maintenance.
Well, that's the nicest offer anybody's made to me all day long. He slaps out this huge hand. I'm Mac.
Sarla, you're going to be a wonderful addition to the group.
He is, yeah.
Well, that's awful nice of y'all. You're my new best friends. I feel it down to the very tadpole inside me. Except for technically I'm a toad person, not a frog person, but most people don't get that. They don't understand the difference.
We don't need to get that close. That's okay.
You're a funny pink skin. Oh, a human. I don't see many of your kind.
So
we only do.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But that's all right. That's fine. No, I'm the weird one.
I mean, yeah, yeah.
It's okay. It's okay though. The food that you make is just absolutely wonderful.
And your skin is so soft.
Meanwhile,
do your
we're gonna move along.
You want to find that if it grows back.
First chance we get off the beaten path, and you guys are just chatting around this caravan. Come on, let's go.
And so, who is it that we see long as you say that?
You see Gurgle, a fishfolk, standing 5 foot tall, blue green skin. It's got some gills and fins as well.
Did you roll that name, or did you just?
No, I made it up.
Okay,
that's good. It's a good name.
Like, that's
a good job.
That's too perfect.
That's a good job.
It's got a shimmering scale jacket, and I'm sheathing my bow to get ready to go on this little path.
So Gurgle, one of the other passengers that's been on Eldrin's, it's mostly been you all, but there's been one other person, a purple-skinned Zelgar, you've been calling her Krista. She approaches you, and you can tell that very large pop, that explosion that happened that has caused the crawler to become broken down. There was a hexite burn that happened on one side, and it just, unfortunately, she was the one who got like the worst of the brunt. And you can see that there's a very painful hexite burn across like part of her chin, down her neck, and down to her arm. And so she approaches you, and she says, "Excuse me, Mr. Gurgle, was it? Was that your name? I believe that's what I heard you call yourself. Is that right?"
What can I do for you?
Well, I couldn't help but overhearing that all of you are going to go and see if you can find some equipment out there to help the crawler. I was wondering if it wouldn't be too much trouble. Could you maybe keep an eye out for some glow moss while you're out there? The burn's getting kind of painful, and that's really the only thing that's going to kind of make it fade away a bit. I figure as a fishfolk, you might be able to find it a little bit more easily than others. Usually anywhere near a river or water, or maybe down in a cavern, anywhere where it's wet. Rocky places where it's wet. That's where it grows. I could really use it, and it would help if you don't mind.
You're asking the right person, because I'm a hunter myself. I could track down anything.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I'm not sure. I don't think. Well, I'm pretty sure glow moss. Well, I think you just need to scavenge it or find. You know what? You do your business. But thank you. That's so very kind. That's very kind of you. I'll try to help out Eldrin, but I can't really. My arm doesn't really work as well because of the burns. It's quite. I think I might just take a few a few tonics and maybe lie down for a bit. So if I could impress upon you a need to hurry, that without being too forward.
Just sit tight. We'll be back soon.
Oh, well. Oh, that's so very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gurgle. I appreciate it. So let's walk through how this was basically happening. I just want to kind of fill you all in. So essentially at the start of the game, you get quests. And so you've got 2 right off the bat now. One of them is to go find the replacement parts for your crawler, and the other is to find some glow moss for this injured passenger named Krista. And so the way the game works is those are somewhere out there on this hex map, which I have brought you over to on Foundry. If you look at the red marker towards the upper right-hand corner of that little hex map for y'all, that is where you're essentially starting. And you get to travel around and you get to try to find the things that you're supposed to find. You know specifically that the factory, that ruined factory, is somewhere south of you and it's in a forest. And you also know that the glow moss is probably by some rocky places near water. It could be a river, it could be a lake. You might be able to find it. So you kind of have an idea of where you might want to go. In terms of travel, the way this works is you can move about 2 hexes per quarter day. And on our quest tracker, you can see that each, if you guys go over that tab in our Excel sheet or our Google Sheets, you can see that each day has these 4 check boxes at top. And so that's what we essentially mark off. So you can go 2 hexes per day on foot, and then if you have other things, which unfortunately you just have foot for now. So what I'm going to do, since this is all public knowledge, I'm just going to put both of these as day 3. So as long as you can get there and back by the day after tomorrow, everything should be okay. But if you wait too long, thieves or some other creatures in the wild might come and kind of finish off your fellow passenger and your chauffeur. So I'm going to put both of those in that quest. So the one of them is going to be the replacement parts, and then the other one is going to be glow moss, if this works properly. Yep, didn't work. Cool. Okay. So these are separate quests. So let me move that again. Try that again. So these are separate quests, and so you don't necessarily have to complete them, and there's definitely potential for bad things to happen if you fail them. There's going to be consequence if you are unable to finish it before then, but things like travel or just doing scenes, usually like what we're doing right now is a scene that usually takes up a quarter day, and then resting takes 2 quarter days. And then whenever you travel, you can kind of you have to also do some clock ticking there. So that's kind of how the game works. It puts like a little bit of a time pressure on you, and it gives you a couple quests, and you're not entirely 100% sure exactly where they are, but you do have an idea of where to start looking. So the other thing with travel, this hex stuff, is that you can, in this game, you can just pick a place that you want to say you're going, and you just go there. And then we start up with a scene there. Or if you wanted to do exploration along the way, you can stop at a hex in between where you just started and where you want to go, and you could potentially find something else there. So it's really kind of up to you. You can kind of buy into the hex exploration as much as you want, or if you just kind of want to go to your next spot and look and figure something out, we can do that too. So as the active player, Kips are basically, we make the call, and then once we leave this scene, then that goes over to Jeremy, and then he's kind of the sort of the lead on the next scene, and kind of around and round. The game does encourage you all to stay together as well. So, what would you like to do?
So, we're going to the forest in the distance, which is, I suppose, are we going like straight south, more or less? Or we believe he was pointing us straight south to one of forest hacks?
He said somewhere. He thinks a couple days, like half a day south or so. So what that basically would mean is, that the forest immediately south of you is probably not what he meant. Yeah. But maybe one of these other 3 hexes down here is more likely what he's probably referring to.
Well, I think based on this terrain and the fact that I have rough navigation, we can actually move 3 hexes, if we don't mind, and get to that southern forest right there on the other side of the water.
Did we want to look for...
Did Gurgle ask or tell me about that?
Fair point.
Yeah, I was looking to bring it up. Melka.
Yeah.
Find some glow moss by the rocks near the river. We can stop there.
All right. Yeah. Rocks, you say? Okay. Well, then we can stop just 2 down at what I think is a cave.
Okay.
I will travel just 2 hexes instead of 3.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we start traveling, and you bid your goodbyes to Eldrin and to Krista. They thank you for their hard work, and it's really kind of just the 2 of them now at this place. And as you start to move away through the forest, it is a fairly thick growth, and you can see there's vines and such that are snapping at you, trying to keep you in place here and there, but you're able to hack through it. Aaron's Toadfolk soldiers probably able to easily cut through them. Same with the knives of your cook. And you manage to pass by as you're traveling. There is a little bit of time you spend kind of passing through what almost looks like gravestones for a bit, and there's some like misty area to the south, but you're able to circumvent that and kind of keep on track for a bit. And then if you're looking for the cave down there, you find yourselves. Yes. And so now the active player shifts over to Jeremy. We're gonna do this fairly mechanically. In the future, we'll probably be smoother with it, but so it's gonna come over to Jeremy. So as time has passed, a little bit of time has passed as you all have kind of trekked away from your crawler. You've gone out into the wild. You've passed through this like thorn-filled forest that almost tried to grab you. You passed through another one that seems to have a lot of mist and gravestones, and you find yourselves in this somewhat rocky area. Jeremy, you can see that it's not a mountain, but you can tell that there's a significant amount of stone growth here. It's more of like the earth has kind of been sundered in a way, and you can see there's this long stretch of a canyon, and the side of the canyons flare up as if either something. It's almost like something landed or something erupted out, and it just seems like it's been ripped apart. As a cook, you might recognize like what happens when you score the top of bread, and the bread like heats up, and then you can see the sides itself kind of reach up. Kind of has that look to it. You can see that there is on the other side of the canyon from you. You're pretty sure you see what looks like a hut, like perched up on the side of this canyon. It looks like there's a building over there. And there is a rickety bridge that seems to cross the canyon, and it's swaying around in the breeze here and there. And beyond that hut, there is a windmill that doesn't look to be in particularly good condition. It is spinning round and round. When you look down the canyon itself, you do see a small stream that seems not a river, more like a stream. Many feet below. That seems to be going to a lake off to the west. And so that's what you see. So there's plenty of options. If you want to try to climb down, for instance, if you want to try to cross over the bridge, if you want to inspect the hut, what would your cook be interested in?
Well, now I feel like I got a ton of bad choices in front of me. But clearly the best thing to do is go across the rickety bridge. So I just don't care anymore.
Okay. So you head over to the bridge, and you can see it is spiked into the rocky earth on the side that you're on. We'll say you approach from like the northwestern side, and it's crossing over kind of like to the southeast. And you can see that it's made from wood, but the wood itself doesn't look particularly great. And there's a lot of little spots that are missing here and there. When a wind gust comes through, you see the bridge just swing up to the side and swing up and swing back down. We're going to do our first challenge, everybody.
Okay, great.
Yay.
As you all need to cross this bridge, and it is not an easy thing to do. This is going to be a reflexes challenge. All of you are going to do it. We can do it one by one. We'll start with our active player.
Okay.
This is a reflex test. Remember, that's a D10. You want to hit a 7, but you can choose to spend your reflexes pool to give yourself a bonus on the roll.
Gotcha. But you have to call it ahead of time, right?
You do have to call ahead of time. That's correct.
I'm going to give myself a +2 on this.
Okay. So you burn. So go ahead and sort of uncheck the 2 of those boxes because you've used them.
Okay.
D10.
Done. All right. D10 +2. And, maybe there'll be some luck there.
Perfect. Okay. Describe how you make it across in a way that is like, it's competent, but there were a couple close calls. Like, what does it look like as you get across there?
It probably is. He gets about, like, he's just sauntering at first, but then there's a really, big gust that comes through. His little packet of cigarettes goes flying out and he tries to lunge for it. He misses them, but there's that brief moment where he's lunging for cigarettes that one of the steps just breaks underneath him. He has to like pull himself back up and then just, walk calmly the rest of it. But there's that obvious point in the middle where he messed up.
Okay. So you probably realize, all of you, that it's best to go one at a time. And you see your cook, a friend, get across, kind of turn back. Once it almost looked like he was about to eat it as a swoop of wind came by and he almost lost some of his belongings. Who follows? Who goes next?
Well, if he can do it, all of us
He
can.
rolled a 7, by the way. He rolled a 5, and then his +2 gave him a 7. All right, so go ahead there, Fishfolk.
I'll do 2 reflexes as well.
All right. Okay. Wow. Exact same roll. Exact same roll. And you have a very similar experience. Halfway across, that same heavy gust of wind sweeps across it, almost like the exact timing, the exact place. You kind of step over a gap of these little planks, and then the gust swings. You almost go sideways for a moment, and you can see vertically down 100 feet maybe to where that stream cuts through the base of the canyon. So do you say anything to your cook friend as you make it across?
Made it look pretty easy, but it was a close one.
Okay.
And you can't hear any talking happening.
Yeah, you guys can't hear because he's all the way across. So they have a private conversation. Who follows your Fishfolk?
Sarla's gonna
back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sarla was gonna wait probably till the end.
All right, Mac, give it a go. Reflexes. Are you gonna burn any from your pool?
Nope, I'm just gonna rip it.
Okay. All right. Oh dear.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
think I'm going to use a memory knot.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So you rolled a 1, and so he's using a memory knot. One of the 3 you get at level 1 to set the die to a 10. So give us a little story, something from Mac's past that helps you in this case.
So Mac remembers back when he was a young Toad soldier, private, we were scaling up the side of this mighty cliff to go at our enemies. And, they were eventually going to be our friends, but they're enemies now. And that wind came and grabbed a hold of me, something fierce, and my tongue shot out and slammed around some stones. And I tried to hold myself in place, but I started to slip. And then I remembered, well, goddamn, I'm a super damn strong Toadfolk. And I just grabbed a hold tight and made my way. And I just remembered grabbing a hold tight as I made my way across that rope bridge.
And as we see Mac sort of finding his way across, you're swole, right? I know you're Toadfolk. You're not maybe as big, but you're
5 feet tall. He's Wolverine.
Yeah, and you have armor and stuff on you, so like you can see there are moments when the boards look like they're creaking here and there, but he's able to move with such speed and alacrity that like he gets across without it snapping. Okay. Who is next? 3 have made it successfully across. 2 more.
Melka will like nervously shuffle around her little beanpole self, pick up her guitar, strap it a little closer onto the little vest she's wearing, look over at Sarla,
You've got this.
Spread her wings and fly across.
Okay.
And use 2 attribute points to fly across.
Absolutely. Okay. So if you're going to spend your 2 attribute points, no roll necessary.
Yeah.
You leap and you just coast. The wind still hits you. You can see, and so like you kind of come up into the air pretty high. You get really high for a moment, but then you're able to coast smoothly down and land on the edge, leaving just 1 on the northwestern side of this rickety bridge. What do you want to do there?
All right. So Sarla sees that everyone, kind of went ahead. Reflexes is not my strongest, so I'm just going to spend 1 on this. She, for flavor, she's kind of has this like wrench in her hand that she's kind of trying to almost try to loop some of the edges of this sort of like into the wrench, sort of like as if it could possibly catch her if she falls. Probably not, but I'm gonna give it a rip.
Give it a go.
Roll a 9, so that's gonna be a 10.
Nice.
You make it across without much without much difficulty. What does it look like as you cross? Is there anything special you do, or?
Sarla is very this is slow because she recognizes that she is not a light individual and everyone else went ahead, and so this is definitely a like tap tap tap, look stable, put weight down, tap tap tap, look stable, put weight down. And so where everyone else went a little quick with this, it takes her like 3 times as long as it took everyone else to kind of get across. And then she kind of like, I made it.
It was wonderful wind.
That it was less than helpful, but we all made it, and that's great.
Yes.
The good news is we get to do it again.
So now you're over here. You have a slightly better view of this hut, which again is perched very precariously on the edge of the canyon, maybe about 50 feet or so from the bridge. And you can see behind it the windmill itself. So you notice that the walls is wooden, all of it's very weathered, and you can see it's covered in these creeping vines. Not a whole lot different from some of the vines that you saw in the forest just to the north. You do notice that there is signs of like vegetation growth behind the hut, between the hut where the windmill is, maybe a garden of some kind. And you can hear as the wind, every time the wind kicks up, you just see the windmill turn and just there's this creak. But you realize now that you're kind of on the other side that the wind doesn't really seem to be hitting you. Like when you cross the canyon, when you cross the bridge, you felt it like, and it hit and you felt the coolness. But now that you're over here, you still see the wind kind of moving, but you see it like all the reflection of it, but it doesn't really seem to be messing with any of you of hair or clothing. It doesn't really seem to be hitting you. It almost seems localized or too high or whatever it might be. So active player is still Jeremy, so I'm going to give him the first dibs. So what would be the first thing you would want? Do you want to investigate any of these various places? The hut, the windmill, the garden, anything else?
The hut. Gotta check the hut.
You head over to the hut. The front door is intact, and it doesn't have any signs of it being, this looks like it like the hut is still... it's still in good condition from the sense of it like there's no broken walls. Like it's old, it's weathered. You notice that there are some vines that are on the walls, but on the door it seems clear of them, as if someone has taken steps to prevent the vine growth over the door. There's a couple potted plants out front, and you can see that there's herbs sticking up out of them. It does suggest that someone might be living here or has lived here recently.
I think you can help us out, but first check out the herbs.
Okay.
And then knock on the door. Okay,
so we'll say as you're looking down and you're checking out these herbs, and they do very much look like cooking herbs, like things that you would add, like oreganos and like basils and things like that, mints. What about the rest of you? Do you follow your cook friend, or do you want to investigate any of these other places, the garden, the windmill, or anything like that?
I want to go take a look at the windmill. Does anyone want to come with me?
Sure, I'll go with you.
Okay. That's exciting.
Okay. Two of you.
It is exciting. And it's exciting to be here with you.
Yeah, it is. You're so nice.
Yeah.
This is definitely our normal personalities.
This is so awkward. So
Mac trips over his own feet, falls on his face, stands back up. Don't mind me.
Oh, absolutely not.
This is so
Serious
great.
face.
I love this. This is great. The two of you pass by the garden. You see a bunch of plants, and you go up to the windmill. You notice that the windmill, like I said, it's turning intermittently. It's creaking. But you also don't really feel like the heavy breeze here that you felt when you were crossing over the bridge. There is a door that seems to lead inside. The windmill itself, there's kind of like these rough stone foundation, but then the rest of it seems to be wood. And much like the house, it's definitely got vines and such covering it here and there. You do notice that the door, much like I described, the door to the hut is clear of them, as if someone has taken steps to keep it from getting kind of clogged up. And so as the two of you wait at the door of the hut, and as the cook waits at the door of the hut itself, excuse me, the two of you are by the windmill. The cook is by the hut. What about our Fishfolk and our cracks? What about the two of you?
I'll stick with Cecil. Can't imagine somebody lives here. And
Oh no, I think somebody do. Maybe we offer to cook them something with this. They let us know what that glowy stuff you need is, because they live around here, right?
Right, let's leave the hole.
So you knock on the door, and you do hear sounds coming from inside. What about Melissa? Where do you go? Where does your cracks go? I know your name's yet, sorry, so I'm just calling you by what your folk is.
Yeah, no worries. I would say that Sarla will probably hang out here at the hut, and so kind of behind Gurgle and Cecil.
Okay, so the three of you are by the front door, and then we've got our positivity team over by the windmill. So we heard the sounds of shuffling coming from inside. Something got knocked over, and then the door creaks open, maybe about 6-7 inches. And then you see a kind of a withered old face of a woman, human. Her hair is white and tangled. You're not sure if it's white from age or white from Cressarian, but she looks of significant age. You can see liver spots all around the sides of her face. And her hand that is holding the door open is gnarled, and you can see the knuckles themselves are big and swollen. And she says, "What? Who goes there? Who's there?" And you can tell as she speaks, her eyes are almost sort of glued shut by this like sleepy crustiness, and she can barely see as she calls out to the three of you.
Good day, we just crossed your rickety bridge.
Oh, well, that's a very dangerous bridge. You take your life into your own hands every time you cross it. Oh, I don't get much visitors out here. Oh, who is it I'm speaking to?
My name is Gurgle.
Gurgle?
They're my friends.
Oh.
And I'm Cecil.
She's like,
"Oh, you smell very kind. Oh, both of you. Oh, no, wait. I smell a third. Oh,
Sarla,
who's that?
hello.
Who's hiding
Sarla.
back there?
Nice to meet you.
Oh, well, I don't get much company, but if you want to take a moment of respite, you can share some of my broth."
and she starts to swing the door open a little bit more. When you look inside, like there's plants hanging from everywhere. You smell something wafting from the kitchen. It's definitely kind of a hoarder's paradise in here, where you see all manner of things. Some of it's looks like old junk that just has been piled up in places. Some of it's even caked in dirt. But she holds the door open.
Varna, come in, please. Come.
Well, if you
Not a
insist.
canyon.
Okay.
No, you seem to know your way around a lot of the plane around here. My friend here, he's looking for something.
Oh, what are you looking for?
Seen the glow moss nearby.
Oh, my dear, I haven't seen in quite some time. But I know there's some near the water. If not in the stream below, you could check out the village off to the west. There's some of your kind, I think.
And she kind of like walks.
You know of a way safely down.
Safely down? Well, you could head further south a bit and then come back around. It's a bit of a walk, I'm afraid. I don't have much use for going down there much anymore. But if you head along the canyon, you'll eventually see that the height tapers down and it gets very treacherous, and then the stream disappears into the rocks. So be very careful as you move.
All three of you inside?
Yeah, and Sarla would be looking around to see if she's going to offer us hospitality, if there's something that she could offer back.
Yeah. So Cecil's immediately like looking at her pot to see what she's cooking.
As you look in, you can tell like it's definitely a broth. There are, it's not so much a stew. You don't see a ton of stuff in it, but you do see murky liquid, and you think maybe some vegetables and such inside of it. It doesn't look like there's any meat, but it is on like a little stove in the corner, like this alcove nook. It doesn't look like there's a second room. It looks like it's just one big room. You can even see a bed tucked away in one corner, and some various tools, like I said, stacked and scattered all over.
I see we got ourselves a stone soup situation going on here. No, you got the good base for the roux, but what you need to do, you had yourself just a couple potatoes here and got a fish head. You got to boil the fish head. It's great for the flavor.
Oh, I don't like boiling the fish heads. I used to trade with the Fishfolk to the west, but...
It's okay. They eat the fishes, too.
Oh, no, I don't know where they went, you see.
He does it anyway. She can't see.
They're all gone. No, the Fishfolk, they used to visit me and bring me some things, but I haven't seen them for quite some time. Your friend's the first Fishfolk I've smelt in... Oh, many a year, in fact.
Can't say it came from that direction.
Oh, well, that's a pity. They were such kind folk, they were. So kind to an old lady.
Well, tell you what, you rest up. We're going to cook you up something good here if you offer us a little bit of respite.
Oh, that's so very kind of you. So very kind.
And so as we cut from there, we'll go back over to the windmill. What are the two of you doing? Do you try to open it up? Do you try to bust the door open, break the... Do you just try to... What do you want to do?
Knock, knock. Any Jonathan Creeks inside? Knock, knock.
You listen. You do, in fact, hear something moving about.
Oh, there's someone in there. Hello?
No response back.
Should we peek in? Oh,
Absolutely. We should definitely peek in. I mean, I'm sure that's just a friend we haven't met yet.
You're right. That sounds reasonable. I'm going to try the door handle.
Okay. You open it up, and as you creak it open, you hear this, and suddenly this group of like 3 or 4 of these shrukas just burst out the open door. I need both of you to make reflexes save, as it looks as though there were a group of shrukas, which are kind of like I don't know, rams, goats sort of thing. They're furry. They got these big eyes, and they have like these curved horns, and they're used, like their fur is basically used for so like sheep, rams, something like that. But they burst out, and there's 3 of them, and they're huge, and they don't intend, they're not like attacking you, but they're just trying to break free. It looks like. Both of you give me a reflex save to try to dodge out of the way of this trample.
Sure. The difficulty is 7 again, or
7? Yeah.
I'll go ahead and spend 2 reflex this time.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to roll.
And of course, I get a 10 this time.
Okay.
I got a 9, so that's 11.
Okay. The two of you definitely jump to either side, and you see bursting out these 3 large Srika, again, rams, and they start like running all over. One of them begins just trampling over top of the garden, and it's just ripping up things left and right. And you just see these chunks and these bushes flying through. You see what looks like carrots and turnips and stuff. They're like kind of eating between themselves. They're tossing it up in the air and they're catching it. And then they seem to be just like kind of running absolute havoc over this garden. Do you all let it happen? Do you try to do something about this? Do you just explore the windmill? What do you think?
They look like they're having so much fun. Have you ever wrestled a ram?
No. I'm
Let's go
agreeable,
wrestle
so I'm
rams.
going to agree with anything. All right, let's go wrestle some rams.
Okay. So you're gonna try to wrestle rams? Did I hear that? I thought you were okay.
You did
Describe. Okay, so this isn't like combat. So this is just you describe what you're telling me what to do, what you want to do, and then we'll sort of decide what the rules. So how do you go about trying to do this?
So Mac waits, and then he charges up. He grabs one of the rams by the horns, and he flips it onto him. And he lands on his back and then wraps his legs around the belly of the ram and starts tickling it.
Okay.
Calm down, little buddy.
Sounds like a strength test to me. Give me a strength challenge. Absolutely.
I will.
You're very large, but you're very strong.
I will go ahead and spend a point of strength on that.
Okay. Give it a go.
This is great.
Come on, little buddy.
Look at you. You're rolling rocks there.
Wow.
Another 10. Plus 1 with 11. You hear like this creature, which I would say you probably don't know it to be something that laughs, but you hear as it starts to laugh, as you start to tickle it, and you can see it's reaching back. You can see its giant eyes, but it's almost like trying to lick you playfully.
I lick it back, of course.
Absolutely, you do. And you seem to have like the two of you are like now play wrestling on the ground. You're like roughhousing almost like you would with a dog or something. And you can tell they're way more interested in playing with you than they are playing in this this garden. There's still 2 more loose though. So Kipser, what do you do?
Seeing that they're going after like the turnips and such, she's going to run over, grab some like one for each hand, like the biggest turnips, and like wave them around and try to sort of entice them to follow her back towards the windmill.
I love it. That sounds to me like a cunning test, I think, if that's cool with you.
That's what I was hoping for, yes.
Perfect. I think that makes a ton of sense. And you're trying to do both. I'll say if to try to get both, I'm going to make that a difficulty of 10. So we're going to make this a hard test.
Fair enough.
So if you're trying to draw both of them.
I'm going to spend 4 of my cunning for this one.
Oh boy. Okay.
Wow.
I love it.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. I rolled a 5, so that is a 9.
So fail forward game.
It.
So basically, what can happen here is it doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It's just you're going to have like success with a cost. You could memory knot it if you really wanted to maximize it. What I would probably say in this case is that you would be successful, but you might take like a little bit of damage and maybe lose a supply as they kind of trample you a little bit as you come in.
I think that's fair. We'll do the fail forward option.
Okay. So in terms of damage, it's only going to be 2, and then it'll be 1 supply. It's like it doesn't break any of your major equipment, but it does like trample and break something of your minor equipment. It's not so much that you couldn't do it. It's just trying to keep one from jumping on you while you're enticing the other. It was very difficult, and you're luring them back into the windmill. Is that correct?
I assume there's no like padlock field easily. Yeah, then obviously the windmill seems to be the best option.
And you're able to bring the 2 of them back in without trouble. Okay, without any more trouble. Okay. And then Aaron, would you like kind of carry this one in?
Yeah,
I think you probably
he'd
could.
eventually pick him up and carry him more like you carry a big dog that's your friend.
Okay. And as the 2 of you are now inside the base of this windmill, you definitely see that there's like hay or not hay so much as like just like different bits of shrubbery and leaves. Like someone has set up beds for these creatures. You can tell that there's like the nubs of turnips and carrots and things as if they've already eaten. But this is just kind of where they stay. It smells pretty ripe in here as well, and you can tell that like that there's like a corner in the section that hasn't been cleaned out in some time. But they do seem to be in decent health. It doesn't look like they're sickly or anything like that. They're very, very colorful too. I would say the two of you would know that like their wool is used for clothes, but these are particularly bright and beautiful and colorful in a way that is probably rare or more rare. Okay. Could you continue poking around inside the windmill, or do you leave?
Is there just this ground floor? There's no upper floors in it?
There is a ladder that goes up to what looks like a loft of sorts. And if you climb up it without issue, you can see like the casing where the windmill connects to the central dome structure is here. It's a little rusted, but it does seem to be working. You notice though that there are like etchings and runes and such that seem to be on some of the gears.
Oh, Mac, come look at this. There's these etchings here.
Mac lumbers up. What? Where? What?
Look! These images right here.
Those are pretty pictures. I like them.
Yeah. I don't have pen and paper, so I'm going to try to just kind of memorize them.
Okay.
For now.
Okay. No, that's fine. And you'll say we'll just sort of you internalize them. No issues.
Oh, raid.
Okay. So as we cut to the next scene, let's say thank you to the Real Gobshite, which is an awesome name, by the way. Thanks to you for the raid. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you had a good game tonight. We are playing Arzium, whimsical fantasy, steampunkery, kind of such. Okay. Let's go back inside. So inside, last we saw, inside the hut, we've got our cook, is sort of trying to improve the broth. And then what about the other two? There's all sorts of, it's a hoarder's paradise. There's all sorts of tools and scrolls and books and caked equipment, a bed in the corner. It smells decent in here, and you probably attribute that to some of the hanging plants more than the cleanliness of it, because it's not particularly clean. Are you talking with the woman? Are you eating? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I would be scourging through her things, just kind of seeing what she's collected. Ask her, how'd you find yourself out here?
Okay, so you start going through her things. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, let me give it a little quick roll here. Okay. You find as you're going through her things, there are a pair of bracers that are metal. They are very well crafted, it seems like. You can see that they have been wrapped up in some cloth, and then has kind of protected them from some kind of grime. You're not sure exactly. It's probably some kind of iron, some sort of steel maybe, but they're very shiny once you kind of scuff some of it off, but they look really, really well made. And as she doesn't seem to notice you scuff, kind of going through her stuff, but she says,
"Oh, I've been here since I was a young lass. It was many years ago. My husband and I, we moved out here and lived together away from folk. Our only friends was the village of Fishfolk to the west. We didn't have any children, you see, and we just wanted a peaceful life away from the cities, that's all. He's gone now. He's been gone for some time, but I'm alone now, but sometimes when I'm sleeping at night, I can still smell him, you see. I can still smell him, and that's good enough for me."
Quite the collector. Is this all yours?
Oh, yes. Some of it's mine, some of it was Rickard's. Some we salvaged when the airship crashed, but that was, 30 years ago, I think. It's been some time now. Like I said, I haven't really had visitors in a while. If you found something you're You're welcome to it, my boy. It's not helping an old lady. So if it's helpful to you, then you go right ahead. Thanks for your friend making me such a fine supper.
Oh, this gonna put some good memories on you here.
Oh, it's very kind of you. Very kind. Oh, it's not often I get such kindness. Sometimes when the Cracks raiders come about, I have to go hiding, you see. They're far more ornery than the rest of you. No offense, miss. And again, she can't see, but she's like occasionally her long hook nose, she just sniffs and seems to reference you.
No offense taken. We all have good of us and not so good of us, and it is what it is. And Sarla's looking around to see if, since she's lived here for a while, is there anything in the hut that appears, given that she's a machinist, that maybe she could tinker with, maybe that she could, kind of get fixed up, cleaned up, kind of work in tip-top shape for her while we're here.
Okay. So you're just looking to see like going through what she has, and like not to take for yourself, but to repair.
Yeah.
You definitely notice that she's got a shovel and a pickaxe, but both like the handles themselves seem a little splintered and loose from the metal ends. You can tell that the pickaxe hasn't been sharpened in God knows how long. Like there's like no point to it. It's nubbed down almost. So both of those could potentially be improved a bit if you find like a better piece of wood to kind of replace it, or sand down some of the wood, and maybe see if you can take like a whetstone to sharpen the pickaxe a little bit. If you'd like to do that, give me a craft test.
I would like to do that. I think. Sorry, I'm looking through my brand new stuff that I have. I can, I get a +1 to die rolls involving, nope, none of this applies. So if only one of you were a robot, I could like fix you up real good. But yeah, this doesn't have to do with machines, so the machinery would not apply. But for craft, I will take, I will spend 2 of my craft on this roll.
Okay.
Because I've got 7 craft, so... Oh, darn. I rolled a 3, so that's a 5.
Okay, so you could just take it and just, not be particularly successful, or you could, we could fail it forward and say you just spend more supply to get the effect that you want, or you can memory not if you wanted to do that as well. So this isn't like a life or death situation, so like I feel like it's up to you.
Yeah, maybe I'll take a hit to supply, because I start with 4 supply. So maybe I'll take a hit to the supplies with. Okay,
so normally you would be spending 1 to repair the tools. So let's go ahead and say, since you're trying to repair 2 of these tools, we'll say 3. So spend 3 supply.
Okay.
Just takes a little bit longer. You have to get some of your own equipment. You have to kind of salvage some of that to make it work.
Yeah, I definitely thought that like the wood was going to be salvageable, and I could kind of just, and I get like halfway through it, and then it just sort of disintegrates, and so then I got to like start from scratch and get the new piece of wood. And if you don't mind, there, Varna, if you were about to use this pickaxe, I was really worried that you were going to put this thing through your foot. So I hope you don't mind. It's a bit sharpened. It's got a new handle on it. So do be careful with it. If you've gotten used to just dropping it, this will now hurt you.
Oh, that's so very kind of you. Oh,
and she reaches out and she grabs,
oh, goodness. It's so smooth. I always get the splinters in my hand.
And she kind of holds up her hand. And you can see her palm is just like filled with all these different red marks.
Oh, I can't let you do this for free. One moment.
And she like shuffles over to what looks like a series of shelves. And she pulls off this old clay pot. And you hear like a jingling. And she just like fishes around, and she comes back over. And she seems to know exactly where you're at. Eyes again crusted shut. And she just like reaches out, finds your hand, and she just puts in your hand some coins. And so 10 coins she just puts in your hand.
Oh gosh. Can Sarla do sort of a check to hear the jingling of the coin to see like if this really would have taken like a good portion of what she's got left, or it seems like she's got plenty of coin and this isn't really gonna, like,
no check necessary. Yeah, no check necessary. It seems pretty full, and she's like, I don't have much use for it anymore. I haven't been to the city in so very long, since Rickard died, in fact. So no, it's just going to waste out here, love. Sometimes a trader comes through lost and I give them a hand, buy a few things, but for the most part it's just going to waste on the shelf, you'll see.
And Sarla, one of her adjectives is materialistic, so she's gonna like this isn't gonna bankrupt this, so she's gonna take the 10 coin.
Okay. You're pretty sure there's more in that pot too.
Just there was either taking it or leaving it silently, and she's got enough to take the 10 coin for her 3 supplies.
Oh my.
Okay. And then, Long, were you keeping the bracer?
Yeah, this wrap the braces caught my eye. I could take good care of it.
Oh, you go right ahead. My husband, you see, he was a soldier, and that's one of the last pieces of his armor I have left. You're welcome to it, though.
And you can put on your equipment bracers. It's your arms slot, and it's 1 armor. It's in good condition too. It's not gonna. So sometimes when you find stuff, it could be broken. Sometimes it can have like special adjectives. Yours is just pretty standard bracers, but good condition.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay. So as the cooking continues, do you want to make a craft test for us, Jeremy, to see how good the meal is?
Of course I do. Like, I'm not just going to fall on just spending the stuff. I have to actually do it.
Okay.
Roll the dice.
Can I apply the 2? If I do my gourmet cooking, can I apply my 2 that I would have spent on that towards the roll?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Give it a roll.
Okay. If you roll bad, everyone's going to die. Okay.
9.
Absolutely delicious. It is layers of flavor. Like, her stuff was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. It was serviceable. But you added
tosses in the fish head despite her protest. Yeah. Takes him a return. So it does the thing where you can kind of peel a vegetable to where it comes out in like strands. So he almost has like these weird veggie noodles with it. Tosses in the spicy he normally do for his spice throw talent. It's hearty, earthy, spicy.
This is so very good. Oh goodness, the texture on this, it's a little bit of a sweet and savory and a little bit of umami too on the back end. It's quite tasty.
Okay. So let's check back with our windmill folk. Anything else that you are doing in the windmill, or do you want to check out your friends, or do you want to do any other things on your mind?
And because I want to raise.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh no, I forgot something. No, I'm good. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mac, we should go tell. I think Sarla would be interested in dealing with the rust on this windmill and head back.
I love this plan. I wish I'd thought of it myself.
Well,
let's go
I'm
do
sure
this.
You would have. All right, let's go.
No, probably not. I'm not that bright.
Oh, that's it's okay. I can help teach you anything you want to know.
I love this. Well, you're definitely my next best friend.
I think we're best friends now.
Absolutely.
What is happening? Okay. Well, so we'll say then the 2 of you join the rest of the party inside. You get introduced to Varna, who seems to identify exactly like what your folk is.
Oh, a Toadfolk. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, fantastic. Lizard folk as well.
Yeah, your ram sheep things that I totally remember the name of. They're really brightly colored.
The Srick, are they now? I haven't got to see them in some time. They're very ornery, though. They're mischievous little devils.
I had the best tickle fight with one of them. He is my new best friend. I call him Fido.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, well, I hope they didn't give you too much trouble. The windmill is the only real place I can keep them without some of the... Well, there's some very nasty things out there that certainly would want to take a bite out of them. And then when the cracks come...
They're back in the windmill now. They are just fine. And we looked at pictures up in your loft.
Yeah, you've got some diagrams up in the windmill. Oh, Sarla, it's a bit rusty, but it looks like the windmill could work.
Oh, are you talking about the runes, you see?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't quite know what they were for, but many years ago when the airship came down, Rickard and I, that's my husband, we salvaged through the wreckage, we found a few things, and then we brought it back to make repairs. I don't quite know what they do, but I know that the gear is, well, Rickard made a gear out of some of the metal he found. I'm not sure what it is, but I can tell you the wind acts so funny since then. So very funny.
We saw the wind acting like that on the way across the bridge.
Oh, it's very treacherous. Very treacherous. You don't want to cross that bridge too often. Oh, that's how Rickard died. The wind lifted him up and just plummeted him all the way down to the bottom of the canyon. Oh, it's terrible. I still remember his screams. Oh.
How did they go? Was it like this?
It was a little like that, but he had a bit of a lower, more baritone voice. It was more like that, you see. And then I couldn't hear him. It really
is.
Yes. I tried to fetch him, but the water took him. And that's what I was saying to your friend here. I don't have much left of him. The only piece I could find down in the stream below was his bracer. The rest of him, the water just took him. To where he went, I don't know. Anyhow. Oh, what was that there, Cecil? Did you say something?
You hear me laughing? I'm sorry.
I know.
Because I'm a terrible person.
I know. Anytime someone falls from great height and plummets,
Jeff, can I do like a knowledge roll to see if I recognize those runes or anything?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
What difficulty?
Normal. I would say normal's fine.
Okay. I'm going to put 3 of my knowledge points towards this.
Ooh, you must be smart.
Oh, I rolled a 10, so that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
So you would know that they are the language or the runes of the Arzium people, the empire that fell. They have vast technologies that are often salvaged or searched for, and they're highly prized. And the full extent of their technology and how it interferes with magic isn't fully known. But from her story and from what it does and how it affects the wind, very clearly, like this was since it kind of crashed from an airship too, it might have had something to do with the functioning of an airship, and likely infused with magic of the fallen empire.
I tell everybody this. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, it's fascinating. I had no idea.
Varna, would you mind terribly if I went to look at that and see if maybe we can do something about this strange wind?
No, of course not. You go right ahead. Go right ahead, dear.
Do make sure you shimmy through the door and not open it completely.
Mac, it sounded like you were very good at having fun with these. Would you like to come and run interference while I try to look at the gear?
Absolutely, Sarla. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Once again, it's something I should have thought of, but I didn't. Let's do it.
So as the group starts to break up, if you go back to inspect the windmill, if you maybe help clean up, we'll go ahead and we'll call it there for tonight.
Okay.
As we have hit our time. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on our quest tracker, just to keep us where we're at. I'm going to mark essentially the first 3/4 days between travel, between crossing the bridge and hanging out with Varna a bit. I would say we're probably 3/4 days in. And that's what we'll pick up next time with you all hanging around this hut.
Yeah.
And that's Arzium. What do you think? Pretty.
Yeah.
I like it.
Pretty good.
I like it.
Entertaining.
I think it's pretty cool. I like it. I like the skill system a lot. I really like the spending the point stuff. I think it's really clever. And we'll get to combat at some point. Unless you guys want to just beat her up really fast and we can just sort of test it out.
No,
There's only one way to test if she's a witch.
That's true.
That is true.
Let's toss her into the river down below.
Yeah.
It did kind of sound like she pushed her husband, right? It wasn't just me.
How dare you?
You guys are so evil.
Not
How
Varna.
dare you? All right. Okay, so that's Arzium. And again, let me before we kind of do our closing plugs, let me remind everybody we are going to be doing a giveaway. So we're going to be giving away a physical copy of the book, which is a little bit like this, courtesy of Red Raven Games, who are very gracious to offer up the copy. It is domestic U.S. shipping only. What we're going to be doing is you go into our Discord, go into our giveaway channel, drop a comment, either which of the folk that you've heard us talk about tonight during our session do you find really interesting that you would play if you had the chance, or if you're familiar with Red Raven Games. Is there one of their board games? Do you like them the best? Are you like Kipser and you like Above and Below? Are you like me, a man of taste, and like City of Iron 2nd Edition? They're all great. I love them both. I love them both. I'm just kidding.
Mad dash to the mute button.
So
Man's
go over there and you enter in, and then what we're going to do is next Thursday, we're going to draw a winner. So all you have to do is just drop a note in that channel, and you're good to go. So if you're watching this later on YouTube, or if you are listening to this on the podcast feed, check the notes. You'll see a link to our Discord, and then you can kind of hop in there and hop into that chat. The specific dates, if you're wondering, it's going to be October 3rd. That's our next session, and that's when we're going to do the drawing. All right. So let's go ahead and do our closing plugs, and we'll get on out of here. I'm going to throw it to Aaron. Aaron, what you got going on over at Garblag there?
So this Saturday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or high noon as I'd like to call it, Garblag is running a special one-shot. Effect Gaming has a game that they're kickstarting right now called Tales of the Old West. And Garblag is going to do a one-shot of that with Effect Gaming. So that should be a lot of fun. Give you an idea what the game's all about. So check it out. Then next Wednesday, now that my roof has been replaced and it's no longer sounds like drums beating against my skull 24 hours a day, we'll be back to Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. And then Thursday, Ben will be running us through some more Walking Dead.
Fantastic. That's awesome. And I think that game you were talking about, that's a Year Zero engine, right? Isn't that what they're doing?
Year Zero engine. It's got a very interesting mechanic. It's not Weird West. It's straight Western. But yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. So definitely check it out.
That's good that they're doing the regular Western. That's very good, because we all know that the best Weird West game out on the market is a little Huckleberry, our dear friend Steven. But there's room for both, especially if we're taking different tacks. So very excited. As for us, let's see what we got. Tomorrow night, we'll be back to playing Delta Green. We should be finishing up our Arizona chapter, where everyone's high on peyote and possibly on sort of different planes of existence. Saturday, we're back to Call of Cthulhu. It's been a while, so we're back to Call of Cthulhu. We're returning to Arkham after some horrible tragedies in Mexico City. So we're going to hop back into that. Monday, I believe we have Outgunned on the docket. And then Tuesday, Star Trek, where Steven, aforementioned Steven, hops back into the seat, give us a run through Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition. And then next Thursday, we'll be back here with more Arzium. That's it for us. Thank you, Matt in a Hat and Demon X. Thank you so much for the raids. We are just getting ready to leave ourselves. So we're gonna carry you over to whoever it is we're raiding. So thank you to the both of you, and thank you to the real Gobshite as well for the raid earlier. We are going to carry the raid forward. We're going to raid our friends over at Insomniac RPG. and have a great rest of your night. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Later.
Bye.